water, water, and more water. Flooding poses challenges and opportunities for Nebraska's #1 industry. Lake McConaughey fills up. We'll tell you what that means for irrigators. Plus, a closer look at farmers affected by recent rains, and see how local 4-H kids are still learning despite the state canceling poultry shows. And travel to Phillips to meet our farm family of the month. Get ready to grow. Lake McConaughey experiences an abrupt change, nearly full of water. Between the snowpack runoff and the rain, it's a lot of water. So what does that mean for irrigators? It's our top story, and here's more.
To explain the importance of this, then, now that it could be full, and a lot of this water then impacts irrigators, but maybe not right away, right?
Well, we started last fall, and we looked at 2015 to set our allocation for this year and talked with our customers and our board and come to this conclusion. We're going to deliver 12 inches. But as we go forward, certainly it will affect next year and future years. Obviously, we'll see how time goes between now and then. It can change the other way in a hurry as well. And we saw that in 2012. We went from a record high to a very dry period of time and high use.
So irrigation season coming in here, we're going to start seeing that all over the state here, happening here, kicking off the irrigation season. How's it looking so far for this season?
We're ready to go. We've actually started irrigation. Our scheduled run starts next Monday, so it's upon us.
There's a lot of water in farm fields across the area. Flooding now becoming a major concern. NTV's John Jankowski has our story.
Gibbon farmer Dan Lessinger planted his soybeans on May 5th. About a month later, a good amount of his crop is underwater. He has 48 acres of soybeans on his land, and 20 of them have been damaged in the Platte River flooding.
Well, with the low prices, it was really tough this year because it's going to be hard to break even the way it is without this kind of damage.
The farmer will wait about a month for his land to dry, then he will replant his soybeans in July. Now he will be losing 2 months on his soybean process, something no farmer wants to deal with.
Not very good. We won't raise much. I'm just hoping to break even on it.
Emergency manager Darren Lewis says for people who have property near the river need to pay attention to it throughout the night.
We want them to keep a close eye on the river. I do that as well. We're posting all that information on social media and we've had a great response on social media at this point.
And in Kearney, while construction work is being done on the bridge along Highway 44, crews need to use a plank to get to their trailer. Lewis explains why the waters in Buffalo County are getting so high.
Most of the rain and snow melt that we're seeing in the South Platte Basin out of Colorado is what's really causing the high levels of water within the Platte River at this time.
Thanks, John. Gravel roads are a lifeline for rural Nebraskans, but across the area, many of them are in pretty rough shape. Leroy Weaver says the roads in southwest Hall County speak for themselves. He understands recent rains have made things worse, but blames county road workers for a lack of training, and whether he's feeding cattle or doing other farm work, says it's a challenge to get around.
We've got a 16-row planter and the wings are way up in the air, and it gets to doing this, and that's only at 10, 15 miles an hour.
The county roads director disputes those claims and stands by his workers 100%, saying he puts on what he calls the Gravel Roads Academy, special training that attracts folks from out of state where they focus on roads like these. He said it was issue number 1. Now Governor Pete Ricketts regroups on property taxes.
We have more work to do.
Governor Pete Ricketts praises lawmakers for putting more money into property tax credits, but says they came up short, failing to address taxes on farmland.
I think the people of Nebraska expect us to do more. So I will work with the relevant constituencies to figure out how we take this plan going forward, but property tax relief is not off the table.
It was priority number 1 when Ricketts was on the campaign trail. So what happened? Senators say you have to look at where the money goes.
Education in the state, K through 12 education.
Senator Mike Glore says they recognize the challenges on the farm. The price per acre of farm ground skyrocketed for 5 straight years, increases of 10% or more every year during that run. Now, Corn prices and farm income are down, but because of those high land values, taxes are still high.
The dramatic increase in the cost of ag land has really skewed that badly the past couple of years. And the Education Committee with Senator Sullivan and my own Revenue Committee will be working together during the interim.
Farm ground would have been taxed at 65% of what it's worth rather than the current 75% under the proposal that failed to gain traction. Senators, especially in agricultural areas, say they'll be back with a new proposal next year.
So I think the commitment for many of us is that will be the primary goal of the next session starting next January.
Nebraska ag leaders express frustration with the EPA over the new renewable fuel standards. The RFS determines how much ethanol is blended with the nation's gasoline supplies. The new requirements for 2015 to 2016 fall nearly 5 billion gallons short of the standard mandated by Congress. Nebraska Farm Bureau president says that could lessen the demand for ethanol.
It also is a very important piece to the economy of our country, and particularly to Nebraska, where we are #2 in ethanol production, and we have ethanol plants who have contributed greatly to the farm economy as well as to the economy of the workforce of Nebraska.
Some say the goal set by Congress was unrealistic, saying it would be hard for the industry to supply that much ethanol. But this is what 3rd District Congressman Adrian Smith had to say, quote, "I am disappointed with the number released by the EPA. Record harvests show the supply exists, but excessive government regulation continues to prevent this clean, efficient, and affordable fuel source from reaching consumers," end quotes. It's not a done deal. The EPA will start a comment period on July 27th, with the final rule expected by the end of November. Fairgoers this year will not see poultry shows. County fairs to the state fair canceling those events. NTV's Megan Johnson joins us now on Grow with more. Megan?
Nebraska's cases of H5N2 have so far been limited to commercial egg-laying farms in 2 northeastern counties, but ag and health leaders are taking precaution. These fuzzy 4-H projects arrive just in time to hear they won't make it to the fair.
Got some cheaping going on, but all the families as they're picking them up, they totally understand because it's not, the avian influenza is not something you want to spread.
Hall County Extension Assistant Megan Knuth says the state 4-H office is working on how kids can still enter their poultry projects as the State Department of Ag announces all shows, swap meets, and live bird auctions across the state are canceled through the end of the year, an effort to curb H5N2 or the bird flu.
They will still have the opportunity to showcase their animals, just not in that traditional bring your animal to fair settings.
It will also mean a gap at big shows like the state fair, where 500 to 600 birds compete in open class alone.
There's a lot of people are not going to be happy they can't see any birds because that's a very popular area for the fair.
It's not fun news either for people like the Klein family already preparing for fair time.
I don't know, it's just kind of disappointing because I was really hoping to do it and because it's fun.
Yeah, and one more thing, we bought some new ducks this year just for the fair too, so that kind of stinks.
Officials say Nebraska is just the latest to take this step.
Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, those have all.
And Laporte adds Nebraska is one of the best states to be an
There's
agricultural
too much
journalist.
risk
He, of
the way
course,
things
was
are right
featured
now
on
to
NTV's
go
Good
ahead
Morning
and have
Nebraska every day.
Waterfowl and
Weekdays
other
here. We
wild
wish him
birds
the very
are
best
natural
in
carriers
his
of this
retirement.
disease, and there's low risk to humans right now. Health experts say proper cooking and handling techniques should keep eggs and poultry meat safe to eat, and we'll have more info and tips about avian influenza in this story at nebraska.tv.
Thanks, Megan. Meanwhile, corn and soybean producers are keeping a close eye on this outbreak. Their concern is that the loss of nearly 45 million birds could reduce demand for poultry feed made with grains and send prices lower. But a grain market analyst in Omaha says there's no impact so far. That's because there's still strong demand from other sources like hog and cattle producers. Up next, we learn about the launch of something called the Farm Business Network. Stay with us.